damn it, May is already there. But my patient is still alive. Okay. Ready. Here we go! I give you one alive patient delivered to a hospital. Where is yours?
Oh, he got better.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did he?
I did say, did I not, at the beginning of this item, the process of recovery begins in the club class ambulance, and in fact it works.
James, where is he?
In the pub, I imagine.
Right, down here. This looks good.
Oh, wait a minute. Here he comes.
And now, coup de grace. Patient to hospital.
Hammond, you blithering idiot!
There are very few popular car shows that have lasted as long as Top Gear. It has even been argued that the show conquered not only British television, but world television. By 2012, the show received a record of 350 million viewers. This is a milestone that very few other shows have achieved. Over the course of its full airing, it would top the BBC's most watched weekly program over 100 times. In its later years, it would prove to be a billion-dollar gold mine for the BBC. How did a show purely about cars that has nothing in common with any other television series become so popular? The original Top Gear series ran from 1977 to 2001. It focused on customer cars that was regionally focused in the British Midlands. Presented by Angela Rippon and Tom Coyne, the show did very well and was allowed to broadcast nationally. This allowed for more presenters to join the show. One of the most controversial was Noel Edmonds, who was the main presenter for a couple of years and was known for his comedic critiques of cars. One piece offended Fiat so much that they threatened to sue if he did not apologize. Eventually, Edmonds moved on to other projects and was replaced by William Woolard. Woolard would transform the show into an informative program. After being the head presenter for several seasons, a few of the main presenters would retire, including Edmonds, allowing Jeremy Clarkson to become the head presenter. Clarkson was known for his unfiltered claims and statements and would often pull no punches. Due to his attitude and his personality when presenting, Clarkson became a household name in the United Kingdom. In fact, he was so well known that when a company received low sales for a specific car, these companies often blamed Clarkson. This became known as the Clarkson effect. By the early 1990s, Clarkson and the BBC disagreed on what the show should be. Supercars became more common on the show and average cars became less common in the series. In 1999, Clarkson made the announcement that he was leaving the show. In the resulting power vacuum, James May would fill the gap. May originally applied for the program a few years prior but was denied due to his presenting style being too similar to Clarkson's. In 2001, the show was cancelled due to the decline in viewership numbers. In the aftermath of the show's cancellation, Clarkson teamed up with Andy Willman to propose the creation of two different shows. One would be Top Gear, which would be more grounded with reviews of new cars that the public would buy. The other would be titled Carmageddon and would consist of stunts with cars, as well as faster, more expensive supercars and generally more risky content. However, the BBC was not interested in producing two different shows that would likely share presenters, locations, and audience. Instead, it was decided that Top Gear would return with Clarkson becoming the primary presenter. As a result of the decision, Clarkson rebuilt the show from the ground up, removing many of the members from the original Top Gear and implemented ideas closer to that of Carmageddon instead of the old Top Gear. For the first season, it was decided that there would be 4 presenters, 3 primary presenters and an anonymous racing driver who would not speak, known as the Stig. The head presenter would be Clarkson, who would be supported by Richard Hammond and Jason Daw. Richard Hammond was an up-and-coming car reviewer for several magazines. Daw was a used car salesman and was primarily a placeholder until another presenter could be found. This is because Clarkson originally wanted James May to present, but May denied the offer. May denied the offer because he had recently presented a few other car shows, all of which failed. By the end of the first season, it was clear that the show was founded on good ideas but needed to be altered. The first alteration was the removal of Jason Daw and replacing him with James May. In 2002, the creation of BBC World and the increase in the export of British television, the show became more popular in other nations, especially in America. For the first 2 years of its existence, the show struggled to improve its viewership, primarily due to the fact that the show did not seem to know what it wanted to be yet. One episode would show a riot control vehicle driving through a house, and a review of a family car in the next episode. The turning point was the torture test of a Toyota Hilux. Clarkson crashed a car into a wall, hit it with a wrecking ball, dropped a trailer on it, and drowned it in the sea. However, the truck was able to start again with minimal repairs. For round 2, it was strapped to the roof of a building that was demolished. In season 4, the show did its first special, where Jeremy Clarkson raced in an expensive Mercedes against the other 2 presenters who took public transport. In the same season, the 3 presenters would compete over who would get the best car for cheap, and then would compete in a number of challenges. Over the years, these 2 formulas would be modified and perfected. This format would show up in following seasons and with some of the most popular episodes, such as the cheap supercar road trip and the race between James and his plane and Jeremy in a Bugatti. During the same time frame, the show became internationally famous. The show became the most popular show on air in nations like Netherlands and Russia. As a result, both nations made their own localized version. In season 7, Jeremy received an injury and was diagnosed with osteoarthritis. He then ended up slipping his discs in his back during a road test. As a result, Hammond and May took up the slack when Clarkson was not able to. This is when the show no longer focused on Clarkson and his 2 friends and became a show about 3 friends. After a few years on the air, the show had been responsible for a few controversies, one of which was in season 5, where they would often discuss the failings of a constable, Richard Bronson. They would often sneak offensive jokes under the radar. Following season 7, the BBC increased the show's budget, leading to better lighting and new set pieces. The cinematography was refined and the delivery became smoother. It was around this time that all 3 set in their roles, with Clarkson being a narrow-minded brute, James being a slow pedant, and Hammond being a hillbilly.
It's broken.
Don't hit it with the hammer.
Why?
Because it's the tool of a pikey.
We still had to do the brakes, the bodywork, and the electrics. Thank God Richard and I had taken some shortcuts.
Jen, it's just I'm saving time by not putting washers and bolts on.
These are all really important stuff.
No. James would flip at you.
Predictably, though, James was being too anal to notice.
That's all he's done all morning. He files. He takes stuff out and then puts it back and files it where it's supposed to be. James!
What?
Stop filing!
I'm looking for the sodding socket thing that you need to take that out. Do you know where it is? Do you know where it is?
no.
Do you know what it looks like?
Yes.
No, you don't.
At the end of season 7, it was disclosed to the public that the show had won an Emmy. After the success of season 7, the BBC gave even more money to the show's budget. As a result, the stereotype of Top Gear being an ambitious but rubbish show about cars took hold. In season 8, they attempted to create amphibious cars. However, 2 of these vehicles sank, and the slowest of the 3 made it to the finishing line. In season 9, there was a rumor that Jeremy Clarkson died in a cattle ranch in Portugal. However, it became clear that these rumors were false. Unfortunately, a few weeks later, it became known that Richard Hammond was hospitalized. While filming an extra segment for the Vampire Jet Dragster, the tire blew off at 288 miles per hour. This caused the car to veer off and flip over. It is believed that if Hammond was an inch taller, he would have been decapitated. It put the show in a tough place, where the BBC cancelled it until it was clear what its future would be. Contrary to the advice of his doctors, Hammond returned to work shortly after the accident. The idea was to strike while the iron was hot, because many people who had never heard of the show would watch the new season after hearing the news of the accident. In the new season, the special presented involved a challenge where they had to paint offensive slogans on each other's cars and drive across the state of Alabama. People enjoyed this new Top Gear and wanted more. Eventually, they got more with the Polar Special. This episode consisted of James and Jeremy racing Hammond to the 1993 magnetic North Pole. Hammond was in a dog sled and the other 2 were in a pickup truck. By season 11, the show had removed the majority of these serious elements and focused more on general entertainment. This is clear through a comparison of how Clarkson went to France in the first season versus in season 11. The show also featured less normal everyday cars and more exotic cars. The episode that showed this change more overtly was a charity episode where the 3 attempted to redesign the garden of Sir Steve Redgrave. This episode showed that these 3 could present absolutely anything and it would be entertaining. As a result, many longtime viewers lost interest, but in Season 12, to regain these viewers, the show began to feature more normal cars. However, what set Top Gear apart was how these everyday cars were presented. Such as, when Fifth Gear road tested the Ford Fiesta, what they did was a normal and calm drive through the countryside. In contrast, Top Gear would take the car and participate in an amphibious beach landing and race it against a Corvette in a shopping center. Season 13's finale showed Clarkson and May trying to create an advert for VW Scirocco diesel. The episode would end with Jeremy giving a tribute to the new V12 Aston Martin. This ending was meant to be a tribute to the end of the petroleum car, and possibly the end of the show, but it was not the end of the show. In 2009, the BBC announced its audience's favorite show of the decade, which Top Gear won, beating out Doctor Who. In 2010, the show would become officially the most popular show in the world.
Top Gear, is it? Wow. It's number 1, you say? Really?
Number 1? What, beating Doctor Who?
We've actually won Best TV Programme of the last 10 years.
Good grief.
It was in 2010 when one of the most significant controversies occurred. It happened when Hammond went on a rant about Mexico when the 3 presenters were discussing a new Mexican sports car. Season 19 was a celebration of everything that made the show great, where there was a special in which the 3 tried to find the source of the River Nile. Another controversy happened in 2014 during a special in Burma where Clarkson made an offhand comment about a slope, which many did not know was a racial slur. This was combined with a leaked outtake with Clarkson mumbling the N-word when choosing between the Toyota GT86 and the Subaru BRZ. As a result, he was put on the BBC's naughty list since it became public that Clarkson had recently lost his mother. Despite these controversies, the BBC doubled down on advertising the new series. Season 22, like 19, was a celebration of what made the show great. Unfortunately, the filming schedule placed extensive stress on Clarkson, and he ended up verbally abusing an Irish producer. The BBC then fired Clarkson, and the subsequent backlash was astounding. Over 1 million people and even the Prime Minister voted to bring Clarkson back onto the show. However, the BBC had made its decision and was not going to reconsider. The final 176th episode of the show was a farewell episode presented by Hammond and May, with an elephant in the background. The elephant in the background represented Clarkson, the so-called elephant in the room. The show ended in Hammond and May saying goodbye rather than the standard goodnight.
What? Actually, that sounded like one of your more successful after-dinner speeches.
Do you know it was? Nobody even threw crockery for another minute. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed those films, and all that remains now is for us to say thank you for watching.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much for watching. And, well, goodbye.
Goodbye.
This ushered in the end of an era. The key to the success of Top Gear can be boiled down to 2 factors. One is the early adoption of the internet, where Alex Mills helped to make Top Gear a billion-dollar gold mine. The internet has also been responsible for the maintenance of the popularity of the show due to memes. Second, the unscripted nature of the show, which allowed for a unique structure. This structure created a show where what matters is the journey, not the destination. The audience knows what will happen in the end, however it does not make the show unenjoyable to watch. Frankly, Top Gear was a show built around the formula rather than the sum. This has made Top Gear a timeless classic.